What's good, YouTube? It's your girl E Smith. I'm back with another video. I gotta give a big shout out to my Mellow clan. Thank you guys for rocking with me. I love y'all so much. Thank you for continuing to come back. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome to Mellowtalk. This is a safe space I created for us to come and discuss various viewpoints, opinions, and perspectives regarding true crime stories as well as trending topics. Now, I want to thank you all for being here, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're right here chopping it up with me, and I'm digging it. So go ahead, take this time to like this video by giving it a thumbs up, all right? Also, guys, we're growing the Mellow Clan family, you feel me? I'm trying to get to that first 1K Mellow Clan members, you feel me? So go ahead, subscribe, all right? Make sure you turn on the notification bell so that way when I drop new content, you'll be the first to get it, no question, all right? Now, there's only one rule to the channel, okay? And that is, when we discuss our various viewpoints and opinions, that we do it with respect, okay? I do not want my platform to be one that we come to spew hate to one another, as this is a no-hate zone. Now, I want to give a disclaimer, okay? Everything that I put on this channel is research that I've done on my own, online, for educational purposes only. I compiled it into a video to share with you guys for entertainment, all right? And today's story, before we get into it, it does have to do with suicide as well as murder. And if either one of these things trigger you in a negative way, I want to advise you to go ahead and sit this one out in hopes that my next video will be one that you can enjoy to the fullest. Now let's get into today's story. This is the Tohid family, all right? This is a family that people described as a loving family, a tight-knit family, sweet people, nothing but good things to say about them. Originally from Bangladesh, they moved to the United States about 15 years ago, where they settled in New York. Sometime after, they relocated to a suburb in Dallas, which is Allen, Texas. Towhid Islam, the father of the family, worked in information technology, while the mother of the family, Irene Islam, was a stay-at-home mother who took care of their 3 children and took care of the house. Now, they had 3 children. They had a set of twins, a boy and a girl named Farhan and Farben Tohid, and they had an older son whose name was Tanvir Tohid. There was a link to a letter from Google that was posted on the boy twin, Farhan, who was 19 years old, was posted to his Instagram account, which alarmed a family friend of theirs. And the reason for the alarm was because the letter started out like this: "Hey everyone, I killed myself and my family." He went on to say, "If I'm gonna die, I might as well get some attention." He then lets the reader know that he's going to cover 4 important issues or moments in his life. Okay, so as he starts to talk about some things, the first thing that he mentions is that he's depressed and that he's been dealing with depression since he was in the 9th grade. Okay, and then he reminisces on a time in August of 2017 where he cut himself. He said he would cut himself with craft scissors. Now, we all know that scissors that you do crafts with are not really sharp. They're dull. He said the blades were dull. So rather than cutting, he used to just rub those dull blades against his skin until finally his skin broke one time. So then after doing a couple of more lines of his skin breaking, he said it was easy to get addicted to the feeling. And so whereas he started out doing it like once every other week, he started to do it every week. Then it progressed to, every day. And then it progressed to several times a day. He goes on to even talk about turning in calculus quizzes blank because he was in the bathroom cutting And he didn't even get an opportunity to take his test because he would be addicted to cutting himself. He also made mention that he had 3 friends that dropped him. And he said it made him angry at first. He said, but his friends dropped him because they realized that, with a person who's depressed, it's a lot of work to deal with them. Because you can't just say, hey, well, you should feel better. And they're going to feel better. Depression doesn't quite work like that. So, he said he was angry at first about the friends, but then, he found understanding in it. He realized that, they couldn't fix him, and he went on to talk about how a lot of people post links on their pages saying, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. He said, but most people really don't mean that, because a lot of people, they'll say, hey, I'm here to talk, or come and talk to me if you're ever depressed. He said, but he never really got any joy out of talking about it. He said because it would ultimately just result in people leaving him when they realized that they couldn't bring him out of being depressed. He then discussed cutting himself so bad one time to where he couldn't physically feel anything anymore. And he said at that point, he realized that he couldn't hide his depression anymore, and he needed to tell his dad. Okay, so he told his dad. He let the dad know he was depressed and everything that he was dealing with, that he was cutting himself and everything. He said the dad worked his butt off to get him help. Okay, and that help, he ended up describing it as being thrown into a teenage mental institution where they diagnosed him and gave him medicine. He said that did work, though. He said the medicine was helpful to his situation. As the letter goes on, he talks about growing up and becoming cool. He got a girlfriend who he describes as way out of his league, as if it was a girl that he could never get or something like that. He talked about having a new circle of friends and becoming a programming god in school. And then he enrolled to be a student at UT Austin for computer science. So everything is going great for him right now. He's taking his medicine and everything. The only problem was that even though things were going great, it did not stop him from being depressed. He still felt depressed. According to him, he was doing every single thing right and everything was going right. But that depression was still constant. And he talked about how, even though he started to feel depressed, he started doubling up on medication, which helped a little bit. He also discussed journaling and doing some of the things that the mental institution had taught him to cope with his depression. And all of it, everything that he tried, it was just a temporary fix. Nothing was permanently taking the depression away. So because of that, he started to decline in school. He was not doing well in school, grades going down, which of course is causing him to be even more depressed, and we're just spiraling downward at this point. As the letter goes on, he now is discussing his depression compared to other people's depression. He said, sure, people get upset and they get depressed because they didn't do good in an interview that day. Or students get depressed when they don't pass a test. Or, people have things that trigger them and they feel like they're depressed. And he said he had a real kind of depression. His wasn't just based on events. His depression was always with him. It wasn't something could just go good and it would rid him of it, So he talked about that quite a bit. He rambled on and on a little bit about that. And then he went on to discuss how he tried to pick himself up. We started doubling medication again. He tried to get back into programming. And he just wasn't doing well. It was like no matter what he tried to do, again, it was just temporary. He said he could not make himself care enough to do better in school. And he talked about how one of his classmates noticed his behaviors and offered to talk or listen to him if he wanted to talk. And he said, even though he regrets it, he did go ahead and take them up on the offer, and he talked about his problems. And apparently there was something that he said that was so disturbing to the point that he ended up getting kicked out of his dorm after that conversation with that student, okay, eventually dropping out of school. Now the college later released a statement, and they said that he withdrew. They did not kick him out or anything like that, but this is what the letter said, that he was kicked out and that he eventually dropped out. Now he's home, and his older brother is home, so now they're there together. His older brother was also a student at UT Austin. He's no longer in school because he is socially anxious and he's depressed as well. And now when he describes his brother, he talks about how he's such a genius, but he's so depressed that he can't even do anything with it. He said that, he's thankful that his brother is still there because his brother went through the same things that he went through, except his brother had to go through them alone because he's older. He said, he may have been gone by now if he didn't have his brother to, go through it with, So they're at home together now. They're spending lots of time together. And one of the things that they did, they binge watched shows together. They would sit and watch shows. And you know how it is when you find that show. Because I know when I found clickbait, I was glued. I did not stop watching it until it was over. So that's pretty much what they were doing. Now, the most important show apparently that they watched was The Office. I have never watched The Office. Have you? I don't know what The Office is about. I don't know anything about it. But he expressed disgust for how it ended. He felt it should have ended a different way, and he was really serious about that. He did not like the way the show ended. Okay? And they stopped watching this show on February 21st of this year. Okay? He said that is the day that his brother, his older brother, Tanvir, okay, because the person writing this letter again is the boy twin, the 19-year-old. Now his older brother, Tanvir, who was about 21, I believe, he came to him with a plan. He said, if we can't fix everything in a year, if we're still depressed, in a year's time, we'll kill ourselves and we'll kill our whole family. Farhan rambled on in the letter, and now he starts to talk about happiness. He feels that happiness literally is the reason why we exist. Everything that we do is to find our happiness or for us to be happy in some way or another. When you eat something, when you take out the trash, when you go get this job, when you go to this school, everything that we're doing is for ultimately us to be happy. And he felt like if he couldn't be happy, he shouldn't live. He said he lives in so much pain and turmoil that it just isn't worth it for him to live anymore. And while he knows that, hurting himself will hurt his family, he said he's just too selfish to care. He said, but at the same time, he loves his family. He expressed loving his family. And again, everyone who knew them, said that they were a tight-knit and they were a loving family. He said he loved his family. He said, and if he hurt himself, that would become a permanent thing in their lives for the rest of their lives, And he said, and because of his family, they're the reason why he's been here the 19 years that he's been on this earth is because of his family. He loves them. And so because of that love, that's why he thinks that it's best that he takes his family with him. So that way, none of them have to ever feel sad again. So then he goes on to talk about how he and his brother actually tried to do some things to improve. They started doubling up on medication, things that were helping. They were making small improvements. But even though they were making just small improvements, again, their solutions were only temporary. So at this point, Tanvir, the older brother, he says, you know what? We're just wasting our time. We're bidding our time. So instead of waiting a whole year, why do that? Let's just wait a month. Okay? If in a month we're still in the same place, the plan is simple. We get 2 guns. You take one, Farhan, you kill our grandmother and our sister. I take the other one, I kill both of our parents, and then we take ourselves out. Now, they just knew that the biggest obstacle about this plan, though, was going to be getting the guns. Now, I forgot to tell you guys that the third point was them watching The Office. That was the third important issue in his life. So he was really mad about how that show ended. I gotta go watch The Office and see what was up with that. But that was his third point, which now brings us to his fourth point that he rambled about, and that is gun control in the U.S. He felt like it was a joke. So now the plan is in motion. These two brothers have made a pact as to what they're gonna do in a month's time. Now, the older brother went, got the gun. He pretty much just had to say he needed a gun for home defense. He signed some forms. Yeah, the form asked about mental illness, but he lied. That's all he had to do was lie. He didn't have to prove anything. They didn't check to see if he was on medication, because he was. So he talked about how gun control in the U.S. was a joke. He thanked the U.S. for such an easy process in getting the guns for what they needed to do. Now, the last thing he needed to do was get rid of his money. And he said that he would do that by donating to someone on GoFundMe. Now, in his process of doing that, he did not like the way GoFundMe was organized. And he didn't want to donate that way. He decided he would just donate it to charity. And that was that on that. All right. So this letter from Google was posted to Farhan's Instagram account. A family friend saw this letter at about 1 in the morning and called 911 for a welfare check. The police go over to the residence. They didn't get an answer, so they forced their way in, and they find 6 people shot and killed. We have Towhid Islam, the father. We have Irene Islam, the mother. We have the 19-year-old girl twin, Farbin Tohid, who was scheduled to return to New York because she had just accepted a full scholarship to NYU. Okay? Then you had the grandmother. The grandmother was there visiting. She was supposed to return to Bangladesh. However, because of COVID, her flight was postponed. And then the 2 suspects, the 2 brothers, the boy twin Farhan Tohid, as well as Tanvir Tohid, the 21-year-old, all deceased inside the home. There were no gunshots heard, no disturbances reported or anything, but the plan was carried out. They're gone, and so is their family. You know, this is a sad situation because, again, we have to put mental illness in the forefront. You know, we have to try and get help for mental illness because it can't always be fixed. And then you have tragic things like this that happen, you know. I'm going to put a suicide hotline number at the end of this video. If you or anyone you know is dealing with depression and having suicidal thoughts, call the number. Don't hesitate and don't delay. Call the number. Don't be afraid to give this number out. Y'all, we gotta get a handle on this. Mental illness is causing so many bad things to happen to people that's beyond their control, you know. I just feel terrible about this family, you know. They had lots of friends who are just very sad about this. So tell me what you think about this story, guys, in the comments. This was a sad one. Have you ever felt depressed? What did you do to cope with being depressed when you were depressed? Was your depression just temporary? Are you dealing with depression? Are you depressed on a regular basis? If so, talk to me. I want to know. And if you can't talk to anybody, you can talk to me and the number at the end of this video. I thank you guys for being here because, again, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're right here chopping it up with me, and I'm digging that. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. When I drop new content, you'll be the first to get it. Shout out to the Mellow Clan. I'll see y'all later. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. Love y'all so much. Till next time, I'm out.
Yeah, I love that OG in my Swisher. I'ma roll it up, so bring a lighter with you. Got the top roll back when I'm riding with you. Bubble gum, yum, yum, pineapple, berry rum. I love that bubblicious in my Swisher. I'ma roll it up, so bring a lighter with you. Got the top roll back while I'm riding with you. Bubble gum, yum, yum, pineapple,